Hello everyone, I am Master Rein.
And I'm Silly Squirrel.
And we are ReviveMeBroGames, a gaming podcast where two best friends discuss cooperative games, multiplayer games, and so much more. What's going on, Silly Squirrel?
What up, Master Rain? I'm excited to hear that we finally podcasting again, man.
Yeah, finally 2023. It only took, 3 months, but we got here, baby.
Oh, yeah. No, seriously, right? No, I'm excited. A lot of life has happened lately, so it's been a bit complicated to get to, for us to get together to do these. But I'm glad we finally found time, and so I'm grateful for you, and grateful for our community for being very patient with us. So thank you all, and hope you guys enjoy this episode.
Yeah, shout out to everybody on Discord, new members like Rodrigo, shout out, and Vendrell, Pro Pretzel, Prospiro, everybody. We always think of y'all. But yeah, this one's definitely. I hope you guys get something out of this chat, and if there's anything you want to add to it, of course, Discord is open to everyone, and comment sections are open as well if you wanna continue the discourse. If this is something that like sparks any conversation or any podcast, we can always get into more details, or invite more guests if we need to, right? But before we get into tonight's topic, Mr. Squirrel, would you like to quickly read our little thing here?
PSA, sir. You say the
Now to think
PSA.
about
All right.
a little thing here.
I know, man. I mean, since we haven't done it in a while, it's like you gotta get that rust out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, PSA for the pod. We are available anywhere you get your podcast. If you listen to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please give us a 5-star review. It's free and it helps us support the pod. Plus, we are giving away free merch. All you got to do is send us a screenshot of your 5-star review to our email or social media with your name and address, and we will send the goods wherever you are. Also, remember to check out our YouTube page with our latest streams and, of course, episodes of the podcast. A few of y'all have definitely received some stickers, and they've sent it to us and posted it online and all that. So thank you so much for that. And hopefully, as the year goes by, besides stickers, we're thinking T-shirts maybe one day. So the more you support us, the more goodies everyone gets. So go give us those 5 stars.
R&B ninja headbands.
I know. Oh my God, that's a good idea. Let me write that down.
Write that down. R&B ninja headbands. I'll have to take a photo of how I wrote that down because it's just squiggly lines on a paper.
Awesome.
But thank you, Silly Squirrel, for that. Please, everybody, follow us and shout us out. It really helps a lot, and we appreciate it so much. And we'll definitely it gives us a reason to like tell our wives, hey, we need a couple hours in the evening. Right?
I agree. It's like, honey, the fans. Honey, think about the fans.
The fans.
All right, before we keep going, it is crazy that we've been doing this for 2.5 years now, and we actually have a few fans that like follow us, comment, and everything. It still blows my mind, and the fact that the Discord's growing as is, it's like it's so heartwarming. It's like, oh my God,
it's so fun.
It's like people like us.
It's like, do we have actual friends, or can we make friends online?
I know.
No, but seriously though, it is a really cool, humbling experience to connect with people online that obviously we've never met in person.
Exactly, yeah, and I mean we've had people from all around the world, to be honest, and it's really cool. That's all I can say. It's really cool. Thank you for everyone. To be honest, I think the day we get like a Japanese fan, I think my day's made. I'll just say that.
Oh,
let's just.
Oh yeah.
Can you imagine? That'd be sick.
Yeah, that'd be sick. Especially if we meet the fan over like Gundam or something like that, right? Or maybe like playing Budokai Tenkaichi 4, which is something that we've been waiting for how long, bro? Oh my God! Do you remember Budokai Tenkaichi when it first came out, and you had to like do the piccolo part, and you're just moving the stick?
Yeah.
Oh
Dude,
my god, dude.
the first game I ever bought on PlayStation 2 was Dragon Ball Z Budokai.
Yo,
And I still have it. I still have that game with me, and I'm never getting rid of it, man.
never. That's a real nostalgia trip right there. You know what I'm saying? Because that's one from like that's a legendary one, man. It was like
Mm-hmm.
open world. It wasn't just a fighting game, but it was open world. You can fly around. You can
Yeah,
like charge up, go Super Saiyan. Oh
yeah.
man! And now we're getting Budokai Tenkaichi 4 after when did the last one come out? Like how long ago?
Well, I mean, the last Tenkaichi game or the last Dragon Ball game?
Tenkaichi game.
My God, I don't know. Like, I want to
I'm
say.
looking it up right now. Budokai Tenkaichi
Okay, my
3.
guess is
Uh huh.
16 years ago. That's my guess.
Whoa. Okay, that's a solid guess. Actually, let's see. 2007.
Fuck.
What the
So that's 16,
wow, yeah,
17 years ago.
it's
Yeah.
16, 17 years ago. Literally, it'll be 17 years in November or October.
Oh
So,
shit,
yeah,
son.
yeah, bro. Wow. Okay. How long? Okay, so this is actually going to be the topic of our podcast today, which is games that took a long time to come out, and I'll explain it more in a little bit. But let's just talk about Budokai Tenkaichi 4 for a second, because that is like what 17 years in the making, and it's finally coming out. And after all of the arcs in Dragon Ball that we've gotten, we're in a really good spot to like get something pretty epic, and I can't wait. So to really talk about the podcast topic tonight, it's something that it's gonna hopefully we're gonna be ranting a little bit. Games that got delayed and were better for it, and games that released too soon and probably should have been delayed. Right? That's essentially what we're talking about: the delay process, the delayed development process, when to delay games, when not to delay games, and us as fans, how we react to that. Right? That's what we're talking about, and I open up the idea with Budokai Tenkaichi 4 because that's a Dragon Ball Z game, and if you know anything about Dragon Ball fans, oh my gosh, we are old now, and and Dragon Ball's been out forever, like to us, right? And we're obviously gonna all buy this game, but it's something that like when we heard, oh my gosh, it's coming out, we all freaked out because it's something that's like, wow, after how long, like so cool, right? And sometimes waiting that long for a game, to for something to come out and like it's in a good way is just better. Because for example, Budokai Tenkaichi 4 had to come out 15 years ago before a lot of the Super arc. Would we really be as excited? Because now we're looking back and we have, oh my gosh, we have the entire tournament, to look forward to in that game. Would we have as much to look forward to had it, come out sooner? That's just one example of the topic for tonight. Silly,
Yeah, yeah.
anything you want to add with that?
I think also like in the nowadays, because we're more, we follow these companies on Twitter or Instagram and stuff. It's like I think we're more in tune of development cycles, right?
Oh, facts.
And so I was actually just thinking about this. It's like, uh, are we getting more needy because we're so privy to all this information, or is this just how it's always been? Like because back then I remember,
Mm.
I used to have to buy the magazines, and then the magazines would say
Mm-hmm.
like this game's gonna come out, and then maybe on TV you'd see like a preview here and there, but it was like
You would see the photos on the magazine, and you would get so
yeah,
stoked because they would have to release really cool concept art a lot of times, right? Because it's going to be printed.
exactly, yeah. So a lot of times it was like if I waited for a game, like I mean I can think of games that I waited for a long time, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it was almost like because I'm not consuming that information so often, it's not in my head all the time. So it's just something I kind of want to like discuss a little bit. You can kind of see where I'm leaning towards already, but
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
like is it just because we're older and we're way into this, or is it something that is just with the times, where it's like no, like people want to know about games all the time, so a trailer in a year is like nothing. But then I found out that usually that was the case 10, 15, 20 years ago, where it's like just one trailer in E3 and that's all you get. So
Yep.
It's interesting. It's interesting. It's like games are getting more expensive, so it's like where do we meet in the middle? So I'm excited for
Dude,
this
the games are
conversation.
more expensive. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, thanks for saying that, man. But yeah, but games are more expensive, and they are. Or sorry, we have less time to play them as adults. Even as younger people, they have less time to play it because there's so many more things to do, to play, to be done
Yeah,
online, for example,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And like, compare today to 20 years ago, right? Like, there were a lot less like games to compete for your attention, right? And if you had one
yeah,
system, that's all
yeah,
you had.
yeah.
you know.
Exactly. I mean, now I own all the systems.
Now you own all the systems, and how many of us actually own all the systems? Like, sorry, and how many younger people that are 15 years old actually can own like multiple systems? You know what I'm saying? Like, it is more of a thing because there's more hand me downs. There's more access to some of these things, right?
ah,
It's not
Good
everybody,
point.
but
No,
it's a
good
thing
point.
that it can happen.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, topic in hand is games that take too long and games that
Mm-hmm.
arrived a little too quickly.
Right. So to kind of like give everybody a really good idea of what we're talking about, we're gonna go through a couple game examples, and we're gonna like really use these game examples to kind of like throughout the rest of the podcast. We're gonna be mentioning these games a lot because of exactly what happened, and a lot of gamers know, but people who don't know, wife, I'll call her Rin. Rin, that's her gaming name, Rin. Rain and Rin. um, but
How
there's a lot
subtle.
of things that Rin doesn't know. For people like Rin, this might be a little bit helpful as well to kind of know like what happens and why people get pissed off when certain games come out, right? So
Yeah.
first, part A, games released too soon. By that I mean we probably should have been delayed maybe another year for it to come out, but it released too soon and it really ruined the attention of that game in the long run. Silly, a couple games that come to mind. Games released too soon.
I think the latest one that I can think of is Battlefield.
Battlefield
20.
2042.
Yeah, which that one I mean, I say that because it was very undercooked, to use a term, but
Ooh, it was like the middle was raw, dude.
yeah, 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 exactly. It's like, but I understand also that they usually these games get released in a certain time, right? Like October, November, because of the holidays. Uh, so it was one of those where it's kind of like trapped, where it's like they have to release during that time because if not, they have to fight an uphill battle against Call of Duty, and
The monster.
you know, yeah, and then historically, it's like those are the usual months where these games get released anyway. So it's like, was it too soon, or maybe they didn't need another year? Like it's that one's a little, I guess, a little more complicated. But I think the one that I think everyone probably thinks about like immediately is Cyberpunk. Um,
Ooh, solid mention, sir.
and how that game actually got way better as time went on. And I do have a few things that I think people should know
Battlefield
about.
2042, Cyberpunk 2077. Just stop
I know,
using 2000 whatever in the games. Stop.
I know, I
Madden
know,
2000 no sé qué. Stop it. It's done.
I know.
It's ruining
Doom
the game.
2016. Anyway, but
Sorry to cut you off, bro.
no, no, no worries. But it's like, yeah, it's like Cyberpunk is now a very, very playable game, a phenomenal game in my opinion. Uh, but I think there's a few
I've
things that
yet to
people
return.
should. Oh, dude, you need to get back in there.
I
But
know, dude.
but it has a lot of stuff going for it now. Like it's very playable.
This is gonna be the podcast that's gonna send me back into Cyberpunk because I miss it. I'm not gonna lie. I miss the game, but it kind of
Mm,
broke my heart when it came out. When there are certain things I wanted to do that I thought I was gonna be able to do, couldn't necessarily do. But then you continue on, and then things start crashing, don't work, and then you spend all
yeah,
this time in the
yeah.
game, and you just don't want to you don't want to feel like all this time was wasted.
Mm-hmm.
So you stop playing, you play other things, and then you just never come back to certain games. But yeah, Cyberpunk 2077 is one I want to return to. Uh, Another game that I feel like this also happened with, like where came out probably too soon, is Halo Infinite. And the reason, like point in case or case in point, case in point, whatever with that game is
Yeah.
it didn't even have multiplayer in the story mode. Every Halo needs to have that. Even Halo 5 had it, but you had to buy
Yeah.
2 consoles, which was stupid.
But
That
it
was
had
very
it.
stupid, but it had it. But it freaking but freaking had it. It had it. And you're telling me that this game, that the next Halo Halo game after all this time, blah, 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 you're not gonna have it? GTFO, like get the fuck out of here, like. And so of course I was gonna kill a lot of the hype for the game, and yeah, it came out. And a lot of people like didn't even talk about. I don't think a lot of people even knew when you
Mm-hmm.
could play the story in co-op. Like I,
Mm.
I for one, like didn't know for like a month, for like a few weeks. I think I found out, and then I think we never even tried it, dude. We never even streamed it, bro.
That's a good point.
You know what I'm saying?
I know we were like, we're gonna stream it. Didn't stream it.
Never streamed it, but it's like, but why? Because like we're not even like that hyped for it anymore, and there's other shooters now that we got into, and it doesn't even have to be because of the Call of Duty monster that did it all. It just
No, it's like
it
Sons
just
of the Forest. You know, it could be anything really. It's just like,
it literally
hey
could
guys,
be
want to play
anything.
Halo? Oh God, I don't know. You know.
Yeah, that's kind of how it feels right now. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know, but we'll get back into it one day, right? I
I
still
mean,
want to,
yes, of course.
but
Me too. Me
that's
too.
I still want to, and hopefully they realize that like for a game like this to succeed, they need to freaking keep trying onto it. Because the games that like come out too soon and die, like Anthem, for example, that's one that
Yeah.
like I'm not gonna focus on Anthem, but Anthem needed to be delayed up until it just never came out, right? But
Mm.
they released it, they didn't focus on working on it, and dead, right?
Yep.
Cyberpunk, they focused on working on it, it's not dead. It's like you said,
So
it's very playable, very much so.
So I think one thing that we need to take into account is that a lot of the reasons, one of the biggest reasons these games get delayed is because, or sorry, one of the biggest reasons the games get released, is because it's what do they call it? Like um, quarterly figures.
Earnings or like
Thank you.
quarterly earnings reports
All
or
right,
whatever,
let
things
me
like
read.
that,
Let
and
me say
spending and whatnot, right? Like corporate
exactly.
spending.
Exactly. So, like for example, Cyberpunk, they set the date because it was going to coincide with their quarterly earnings, right? So, like, sell the game, get a huge revenue, and then show that as part of like, oh my god, look, we're in really good shape, you know. So, a lot of times, and even for like companies like EA, like they really, really push the developers to release this game at a certain time because they need to release a product. It's just like anything else out there.
Hmm.
That's why you get like products
Horrible
from
movies.
Android, Apple,
Oh yeah.
movies, like,
Hmm.
like they all work on that mindset where it's like we need to release a product so we can make money and then we can keep funding stuff so we can make the next product and make more money. And sadly with games, I'm sure with technology in general, it's very brutal, right? So
Hmm.
like Halo was able to serve like the funny thing is that the games that we picked were able to survive because of pedigree, right? So like Battlefield has been able
Right.
to survive this long because it's Battlefield. Halo's been able to survive this long because it's Halo. And granted, Halo uh did come out with a great single player campaign and pretty solid multiplayer. It was just lacking features that we expected them to have since day one, which is like
Hmm.
like like
Hmm.
Master Rain said, the co-op and Forge, and all this stuff. So the it's really difficult, right? Because at the end of the day, like as much as these are very artistic endeavors, they still need to make money. It's sad to see how a lot of these like amazing projects can have their legs chopped off because they have to make a deadline. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Which I think is
Hmm.
what really really killed Anthem too. Like it's like besides I mean there can be multiple things, right? The lack of like sometimes projects get scrapped halfway and all they have is 6 months. Sometimes directors or even artists quit the job midway because of crunch time or this is and that. So it's like, I mean, we're only pointing out at one thing, right? But it's like
Hmm.
this is the type of stuff where it's like, should it be delayed? You know what I mean? Like, when does it become more feasible to take a hit for a quarterly earning, and then hopefully for the next, like you see, like there's a lot of like ifs and buts, right? And it's already that already makes an accountant like clench their butt cheeks, you know. So it's like,
Mm-hmm. 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 Well, in a game like I guess like Halo, where a lot of people are you're depending on the store to make money. If people are leaving the game because they're done, that's just gonna like kill what was the whole plan to begin with, anyways. You know. But it really, but right though, it is something that's like corporate earnings and investments and all that kind of stuff. It is something that the companies have to take an account for that the gamer doesn't have to, right? But in my
Mhm.
opinion, I think that like that is kind of a double-edged sword because it's like these companies are the reason why we have more games. These companies are
Yeah,
also the reason why the games are shittier. So
yeah,
it's like great. We get more good games to come out, right? Like because of they release so many more games, but then so many more games are going to release in a just a worse state because of exactly that. Like, oh, we need to make our money back. We need to do this, and yeah, I wish companies could just go to like develop the games that are going to be awesome and for however long they want to, right, until they come out, right?
yeah,
But just think
yeah,
about back in the day, like once a game came out on the disc, that was it. There's no working the game. There's no update that you're gonna send to the game or whatever, right?
yeah,
Like or send
yeah,
from the game.
yeah.
Like it's out. It's done. Like that's it, right? Like that's now the meta. Whatever the gamers do, that's now the meta, right? If they figure out how to
Mhm.
break the game, tough shit, right? Like
Yeah,
they did it, right? Um,
yeah,
and so nowadays that's not what we're getting. It's because they literally have a crutch, which is oh day one patches, day two patches, patches every
yeah,
month, right? You know, patches
yeah,
here, patching there. Like it's just
yeah.
okay. You know, we get it. Like you guys are. It's harder nowadays because I'm sure there's a lot of stuff with the coding and the
Uh-huh.
what to call that they're using the game engines they're using may be buggy or whatever. Like for example, the Frostbite engine with Battlefield 2042 was having issues, right? So you hear about that, but then you scratch your head because it's like, how much money does this company have to like not have these issues?
Yeah. And if I may add to the engine conundrum, it's like think about it this way too. Like a lot of times like games like for example FIFA or Battlefield or actually
Hmm.
FIFA would be a good example where it's like for a few years even though the game was somewhat solid, the amount of glitches you'd find were hilarious at best. I found out that the reason the game was really buggy is because they needed to use the Frostbite engine. And the Frostbite engine is made specifically for first person shooting. And so having to translate that into soccer, I don't know the mechanics of it, but it's like
Ah.
it's what happened with Mass Effect Andromeda. Instead of using the old school engine that they had for the game for Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, they were forced to use Frostbite. And again, when an engine is basically just these tool sets that you can use to build a game. Well, a good example of a good engine would be the Doom engine, the original Doom from back in 1995, where it's like people were able to grab that engine and make their own first-person shooter games. That's why you had to do all these Doom clones, right? Because
Hmm.
they basically they reskinned and remade the game differently, but the engine was the same because they were making a similar genre of games, right? So now imagine translating that, right? A Doom engine, and you try to make an RPG. Like, I'm sure you could probably make it, but you'd run into a lot of issues because that's not why the engine was made. It's like trying to put in like a Ferrari engine in a Honda. Like, technically it works, but
But
you're,
it's not gonna go well.
yeah, like you're gonna have
Yeah.
issues, you know?
Yeah, and have a
Uh
bad
huh.
time.
Yeah, yeah. So like I think like I believe with like Mass Effect Andromeda is another one that it needed more
Hmm.
time because they based these creators were like screw everything you knew about Mass Effect, now use this engine. And you're like, "Wait, what? Why?" Cuz we have to use this engine. And it's like, "Okay."
Hmm. You
And
know,
when
Fallout 76 was something that needed to be delayed. Delayed.
big time.
That became memed 16 times the detail. Negative 16 times the detail. dude, that got me so hard. Angry Joe went so hard on that one, bro. But well deserved, dude. They fucked it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
They done gone fucked it up, as he says, to quote him. Um, but it's something that like we can see how these companies just like release their games to make their money. How much money did they make with Fallout 76? How much money did they
Yeah.
make with like releases of games that are buggy? How much money did they make with Anthem that like
Yeah.
died on arrival? Literally died on arrival.
I
Dude.
know. And again, there's more to it, right? Shigeru Miyamoto said a delayed game. The basic gist is like, I rather delay a game longer and have the game come out perfect and be remembered than have the game come earlier and
Yes.
be forgotten. So
That
again,
is
I'm
good.
totally misquoting Shigeru Miyamoto, but that was the main
That's the
um
idea.
that's the main gist of it. And so like
That's a
God, like I feel for the developers, man.
right, and that's a good transition now for the essentially the part B of the games that we're going to be talking about, which are the games that got delayed and were better for it. And what better one to bring up first but Breath of the Wild, the Nintendo game, right? Breath of the
Ooh.
Wild, delayed. People wanted it for so long. When it finally comes out, though, it is a masterpiece. Like a masterpiece that affected other games. Thoughts on that one? I mean, if you obviously played Breath of the Wild through, I
Yes.
know there's a couple other games that you can mention that got delayed and were better for it.
So Breath of the Wild is, I think, a good example of basically a Nintendo's policy, where it's they really wait till the game is playable. I have yet to remember a game that is. I've yet to remember a Nintendo game that came out crap. You know,
Well said. Okay.
like if there is one, let us know. I would love to hear if there has been one. But right now, my memory serves me that no, this hasn't happened. And what was most fascinating is that Breath of the Wild was announced many years prior, and Nintendo just slowly like gave out, a trailer here, a trailer there, art here, art there. Very
Mm-hmm.
much how other companies would show off their games, right? It's one of those things where it's like, as much as Master Rain and I have talked about Nintendo and the way they do business and how we fucking hate it, but the, you got to give them credit for having patience. Where it's like the customer knows that whatever they're gonna release is good, and what I mean by good is that it's optimized. So, for example, even though
It's
I
gonna work.
yeah exactly
Forspoken. God.
so
I never played it, but to see what they did on PC, like, oh my god.
so like the latest like Mario Strikers game or the latest Mario Golf games and all those like I mean I have some grievances with those games, but my grievances are more about the content and what they didn't add and some of the shit that they did. If when I bought Mario Strikers, the latest Mario Strikers, it worked perfectly. No bugs. I could play the game right away. There was no online feature on day one. You had to wait a few days for that. But then after that, it's been working fine. If you have a good internet service, it works fine. So now and then you'll have some lag, but I think that's inevitable. But at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
the game came out in a good state. And so did Breath of the Wild. So did all these other games. Because Nintendo knows that A, that's the standard that they've set for themselves. And B, fans, even though we're all angry and pissed, once the game is out, it's out. Just like Master Rain said, it's like it's out. Here you
Mm-hmm.
go. Now, granted, Nintendo has been doing the whole like every month or so they'll add a DLC, right? Like, oh my god, you want to play as Shy Guy? You want to play as Daisy? And I just roll my eyes with that practice. But the game works.
Right.
At the end of the day,
Right.
the game works. You can't you
Right.
cannot take that away from Nintendo.
That's huge. That's something that what's the last time we like give like a commendation to a game for doing that was like actually Elden Ring actually. That game
Mm-hmm.
released and yeah, there was like a patch here or there, but it's literally barely anything, right? Like they've did a really good job releasing a game in a state that just was like out, right? And now they're gonna
Yeah.
come out with like a DLC. I think it's gonna be free, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's so legit of them for having done that. And now they're also working on Armored Core, which I'm sure that's going to be epic, right? Because we all trust his development team, but if they need to delay it, they'll delay it, right? Making sure that it's in a good place, hopefully, hopefully, right? Um,
Hmm.
Speaking of a game that was delayed and came out like in a really good state, like another one was Resident Evil 4. I actually had no idea until like I found out about it, but I had no idea that it was delayed for as long as
Hmm.
it was. Now, if I think about it, from when the Resident Evil games were coming out back in the day to Resident Evil 4, it was a long time. Like it did feel like a long time, right? And then
Hmm.
Resident Evil 4 comes down, you're like, oh snap, another Resident Evil game! Like, oh my gosh, like to me it was out of nowhere, right? And I was just like, it's here, right? And got it, played it, fell in love with it, right?
Hmm.
But that's a masterpiece of a game, bro. And there's Easter eggs and things you can do, side missions, like the side things you can do, like to get the different guns that you can use, like in the story mode.
Yeah, yeah.
All of that DLC stuff you can buy nowadays. Back in the day, you gotta earn it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You gotta like beat the game or something
You
like that. You
gotta,
know.
yeah. That was an actual bragging right. Versus nowadays, it's like, oh, you can totally play the game and earn this, or you can just buy the skin that looks just like it,
Yeah.
whatever. And yeah, that kind of like takes away that it's like the I almost call it Shippuden armor, Hayabusa armor, the Hayabusa helmet. That armor, like when you saw that in a multiplayer match, you were just like, God damn, that person went
Like
hard.
that
Now,
person earned it. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
person earned it. Stay the fuck back. Don't fight them if you suck at the game. But then nowadays, everyone has
The
it.
power of the wallet.
The power of the wallet, yeah, with these gaming companies, right? If the practice of the stores and whatever, like I get it. But I get if they're gonna make their money with their stores, the game has to freaking be loved and well played and all that kind of stuff. And if you're
Hmm.
releasing something buggy ass mess, then that's just not gonna be the case. Not for those companies, right? Um,
Yeah.
so presenting the idea again of like just the general idea of the podcast again, games that got delayed that were better for it, games that released too soon that were it ended up hurting them in the long run, right? Um, there's we can now silly we can always go back to talking about the corporate side of things now that we've presented some games that we can really explain this idea with. But here's my question to you though: would you prefer games to come out and for the developers to just like be fixing it as they go and you get to play it because you're so excited to play it, or would you rather just get the game and know that it's solid, like from the time that
Oof.
you're playing it, you know that it's all good to go?
Mm.
Like
I mean,
what would you prefer?
the obvious answer is just release the game when it's done, right?
That's the obvious
Um,
answer, it feels like, right?
that's what my heart tells me. The one aspect of if you're gonna like give me flavors, so to speak, would be okay. Like whatever happened to game demos. Like I know Resident Evil 4 had a demo,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and honestly, like, why can't we just do that? Like before, like I don't know if I don't know exactly the mechanics are in terms of like how to make just this part of the game available. Like it's like I don't know how that works or how easy or hard it is to make a demo. But like would it be so hard to like really create a demo so that players can play it and then see if they want to buy the game or not and that could buy you some time? I don't know. The one aspect that I don't mind having kind of like piece by piece is a little bit of what Valve's doing, where it's like
Okay.
games get released and they tell you this is an alpha, this is a beta. Yes, you pay money for
Yes.
it, but you kind of already go into the game knowing that it will get better, right? But you don't. But
Well,
most of the
hopefully.
time, yeah. But most of the time, you don't pay full price. So like I think like Sons of the Forest is a good example where it's like I think you pay $30 and the game's basically almost done but not quite. And the developers are like, here's the game. We're only gonna let you play this much. Right? There's still a lot of stuff we need to add, but go have fun. And it's been fun,
It's been
but
fun.
we already go in with the mindset knowing that the game is not fully cooked, you know.
Right.
So it's like basically we're eating the cookie dough before the cookie's cooked. I mean, it's still damn good cookie dough, you know?
It's still good cookie dough, right? Yeah, exactly. You're excited to eat it, but you at least you know that you're eating cookie dough versus like somebody telling you it's a cookie and you bite into it and it's just you know a mess.
Yeah, so
Like
like when
Battlefield 2042.
exactly, so it's like when we play Sons of the Forest and we encounter bugs, it's
We
okay.
get it.
It's like, oh, we get it, you know. But it's also backed up with like, you know what? I paid $30 instead of 60. If we paid 60 for an alpha, I'm looking at you, Star Citizen. If we pay 60 for an
Uh huh.
alpha and it's like unplayable, I'm gonna get pissed. You
Right.
know. I'm gonna get
Absolutely.
pissed. And
Absolutely.
like Star Citizen's a good example where that shit's taking way too long. And Master Ain and all the
Yes.
group and I have played the game. And dude,
It's pretty phenomenal at
it's
times.
phenomenal, but until you actually start playing it. Like if you just
And
go around and look at shit, it's like, ooh, this is nice, you know.
mm-hmm.
And then you're like, okay, can I go kill these guys? Bug after bug after bug after bug.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I get
Mm-hmm.
it. It's an
Mm-hmm.
alpha. But actually, I should look up how much I paid. I'm pretty sure I paid like 40 to 50 bucks, and it
Not as
was
much as Sapito paid him.
oh yeah, true. Actually, I'm gonna look that up. But yeah, that's what I think. I think if you're gonna release the game, release it when it's done. That's my opinion.
That's a good way to say it. Now we do fall for those alpha games like those games that are not like not full release yet. We buy into it, we play them. Yes, like we totally do that, right? Um, but for a company to hear, oh, we're gonna only release the game until like it's ready. A lot of the companies out there are just gonna be like, oh, then we're just a lot of games that we're never gonna be able to like actually release
Mm-hmm.
because we know that the development's going to take too long and we need the money from the cycle of the game releases or whatever to like continue the development on it. It's like hold up.
Yeah.
And I think some companies are thinking that way too. And it's it's like again the corporate mixing the corporate with the gaming and the art form, it just I feel like doesn't really mix well. But that's kind of like the double-edged sword because we also need them to be able to create these shit, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um Now, so kind of going back a little bit, let's see here. Star Citizen. That's a good example of something that hopefully doesn't stay in the development forever. Valheim. Valheim is one that like we played, we got to like a good like ending, quote unquote, and we're like really excited for them to
But they
release
took
more.
forever.
They like I was making yeah, and it took forever. Now I was saying the other night like okay, with like $10,000, they made the original Valheim that like everybody freaking like gushed over. Now that they have millions of dollars and an amazing horse, they can't like actually finish the game. Like what's going on? Right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
what happened there, right? And like oh, because it's
yeah.
gonna be perfect. Da, 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 da. Like how perfect? Is it because of the bugs? Is it because you're making the game that massive? Whatever it
Mm-hmm.
may be. I'm excited to see when it comes out, quote unquote, like finished full release. But that's the
Yeah.
thing though. Like that's the full other side of the coin from releasing too soon to like when the is this game gonna come out?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
which yeah. Now we'll see. Star Citizen. Star Citizen is kind of like a really good like case study in this because once that game is fully released, maybe in 15 years, but once the game is like fully released, if it slaps and everyone loves it, and this becomes like the Ready Player One Oasis, and everyone's playing it, people are going to school on it, people are
Yeah,
dating
yeah.
on it, if it becomes like that, okay, my hats off,
People are
hats off to the
dating on it.
developers, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If people get married on it, and all of that stuff, right? Hats off, right? They did it. They did it, right? They really stuck to their guns and released something that was an amazing way and whatever, right? No Man's Sky is probably like the best example of a game that made the comeback. The game that released too soon and it was like definitely shitty, but the developer stuck to their guns and over time not only became an A+ game, but became an SSS tier game. And yeah, No Man's Sky can be kind of like long and boring at times to play, but I say it is S tier because you have so much crafting space, like massive environments. Like there's a lot that we can go on about No Man's Sky, right? And they're still
Yeah.
developing for stuff for it. Still, after all this time, dude, like not a lot of games have that can say that. I mean, yeah, Cyberpunk can say that, right? For sure. I mean, no, Cyberpunk can say that because they definitely stuck to their guns, and CD Projekt Red made sure the game was gonna come out well, and there's updates and stuff for it that are gonna be legit, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But dude, No Man's Sky definitely, in my opinion, is the king of
Props
this.
to them. Like it's been God like 6 years since they released a game, and
Oh, it's
the
been longer
games
than that, I think.
I this was 2016. I want to say right,
Oh yeah, actually, okay,
right,
so about
like it's like
7 years
yeah.
since then. Okay, yeah, maybe, yeah.
So where I'm getting at is that the developers had a vision and they worked on it, and it's almost like commendable that the fact that they kept to it. And
Yes.
it's one of those rare instances where like the company has one game and one game only, and I mean granted they did make enough money in the beginning because people still bought it. It's almost like rare to see, right? Like if I play the game now, it's going to be different than my experience the last time I played the game, which was 3 years ago, which is going to be different
Mm-hmm.
than the experience that I played the game 6 years ago, because I played that game like 3 to 4 times, and sadly it's not for me. But I did appreciate how much every time I went in, how it changed, and I was like, holy
Mm-hmm.
crap. Like I was like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
So Cyberpunk is one of those games that had a very was very much affected by COVID. The one thing that people need to understand, because there was a lot of hate in the game, and I mean some of the hate was earned because they promised one thing and delivered another. But
Right.
I thought it was weird that the PC version of the game was pretty great, but the Xbox One, PlayStation, and all these other consoles, it was
It was
so
ridiculously bad.
like
Yeah.
unplayable bad. And
You're right.
I end up finding out that the reason that is because when COVID hit, the developers could only work on the PC port of the game. In order for
Yep.
them to work on the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and all the other console versions, they needed to use these developer consoles that are given to all the developers, right? So that they can build the game and test it and stuff like that. They're very different than the PlayStations that we get
Actual.
commercially. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because everyone's working from home because of COVID, they can't necessarily go to the office, take the console, and take it home. Plus, there's liability, and there's also the NDA kind of type of risk.
Can't just
So
pull it out of the event,
no,
right?
like they can't. It can it's a liability, and so
Mm-hmm.
all they could work on was the PC version. You know, the other
Wow.
one when they had like I don't know how they did it, but like maybe once COVID kind of came down, they all like went in back and they're like, oh my god, we got to work on this. But it's like the more you understand how games are developed, which I can definitely recommend a few channels, uh, the more you understand what causes these games to be half baked. And so, like, as much as I, as a consumer and a gamer, want my product to look and be good, you kind of sometimes need to look into what's happening with the company in order to understand why this is. So, for example, with
Mm-hmm.
Battlefield, DICE must have been pressured to release this, and they had no choice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that sucks because the first thing everyone's gonna say is like, man, these developers, they should do this and that. How dare they not do this? Can you like imagine the developers themselves saying like, we really wanted to do that, but they didn't let us? It's like, ah, man, like I don't know. I would love to honestly
That
interview a
happened.
developer.
I mean, that'd be great, right? I think that definitely happened with Destiny and Activision. Like that when Destiny first released, like right before it was gonna come out, like they pulled a lot of the story and then they chopped it up and then
Mm-hmm.
released the game. And then that's when everybody with Destiny 1 came out. They were just like, wait, what the hell is this? It kind of
Oh
feels
yeah.
like half a third of a game. Like, why is it a third of the game? Oh, is it because they're gonna sell the rest of the game over time? And for that
Mm-hmm.
first like cycle of Destiny, they kind of did. And over time, it kind of felt like they were keeping the game alive just because people were like buying the DLCs every month, right? And if people wouldn't buy those DLCs, it would seem like the next one that would come out would be like, oh, epic. It would be like this, oh my gosh, a big part of the story was getting released. Oh my god, everybody come back and play, right? And
Mm-hmm.
now if you look at Destiny, because so many people are gone, what have they done? They've dropped like a lot of like massive story things that like if you play Destiny from the beginning, you might be like, oh my god. But the truth is, I'm I'm done. I know Johnny Boy's done, right? Like
Yeah.
they're not getting me back, and it's some of those decisions that Activision made at the beginning to like chop it up, make it a more sellable game that they can make more money with over time, because it really does come down to the money. It really with those companies, it really will. It really will. I mean, that's why they're developing games for us is so we can buy and they make money.
Yeah.
you
So
know,
honestly, the
but
best thing
yeah,
you can do is vote with your wallet. You
you
know,
vote with your wallet.
that's
Yep.
why we try to. That's why I made a lot of us like, especially me. Like I wait at least a month before buying the game, unless this is a game I've been like dying to play all my life. I wait. So like for example, when The Last of Us 2 came out, I bought it right away. And honestly,
Mm-hmm.
it was pretty good. It was pretty steady. When Call of Duty and Battlefield came out, I was very hesitant.
Mhm,
you
mhm,
know, uh, be,
mhm.
even though I know that my experience is gonna be good down the line, it's like no, if I give them the money now, it only tells these companies that that's okay to do. Hence why we see so many times where like with Halo and all these, where it's like, here's a half baked game, give me money. No, that's like I don't buy an iPhone expecting it to do half my calls, you know, or expecting it to
Uh-huh.
only allow me to install 10 apps. It's like no, you buy a
I know,
phone
dude. Yeah.
and you expect it
Yep.
to work. One thing I did want to like go into is like a lot of I don't know if I see this now, but like the meme where they tell Bethesda, is it Bethesda? Yeah, Bethesda. Um, the meme where they tell the people of Bethesda just release Skyrim, release it, and then let the modders fix it.
Oh, yes, release it and let the modders fix it.
Because
Yeah.
I
Shout out to
think,
the modding communities.
yeah, I think one of the things that console gaming really lacks right now is modding from PC, and a lot of times PC modding can save a game. And I can think of like a few examples like Fallout New Vegas, Vampire Bloodlines, even Skyrim, where it's
Fallout
like
New
the
Vegas.
modders gave those games more life. And I mean, granted, I mean, Skyrim is one of those that's like, I mean, people played it regardless. Modding made you want to come back, and modding made you want to,
Come back for
for
more.
more. Yeah. And so, or Fallout New Vegas, where it's like modders managed to fix the bugs and stuff. So it's like, I mean,
You
at the,
know?
at the end of the day, these games came out broken, but the fact that they were saved by people that really like the games, I'm only saying that. I guess what I'm trying to say is like, if we compare Battlefield 2042, we know as gamers that the game will eventually get better, especially if a game is broken. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just that nowadays it feels like that promise is no longer there. Like, like yes, the game will be fixed. There's gonna be patches, but by the time that gets fixed, it's like, well, the latest Call of Duty's out, like or the next
Mm-hmm.
Halo's out. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
like when Halo
Or
came
other
out,
things.
yeah, I can think of there's like too many games to be honest to play,
Yeah,
and
sometimes it really feels like it.
at this point it becomes like, okay, like, do I rather play Call of Duty or should I go to try out the new God of War? And I mean, if you're 15 and these are your games, like you're probably gonna play both, all day. But if you're 23, 24, 25, 30, 40 years old, it's like time is now of an essence. And the last thing you want to deal with is bugs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, thank you. It definitely will kill the mood of the game real fast. Real fast. So yeah, but shout out to the modding community, definitely, right? Because like for example, Halo 3 and Forge. Forge was such a huge thing that like for that game, right? And then Halo Infinite promises us Forge, and Forge they wait and wait and wait and wait and wait, and then
Ugh.
well, it's out now, I think, but it's still like now people are probably gonna start coming back to it now that you can start modding. People are gonna hear cool stuff that you can do on Halo Infinite. Hopefully, right? But you were saying that like games can like modders will breathe life into the games because they'll fix them. There's been a time when the modders literally like created the life. CS:GO, Counter Strike, like that was a Half-Life mod. To where you could team deathmatch each other or whatever, and then it became a game and it became a literal worldwide phenomena. Impressive. That is because of people doing stuff on the game. Like that's so cool.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point.
Like
pretty true.
Like Skyrim getting modded, and then Skyrim eventually getting multiplayer, or Elden Ring getting modded, and Elden Ring getting multiplayer because the modders wanted that, right? And people we come back to that. Now imagine if people can create their own, which I think already is out there, like an entire Elden Ring that you can do multiplayer with people.
Oh,
what? That makes me want to play the entire thing from like right with the boys, right? That sounds awesome, right? Right? You know what I'm saying? But that's what I'm talking about. Like these games that are now like sticking in the cultural mentality because of how much you can do on the game, and not just because of what the developers have done, because those people are limited. They can never compete with the modding community. I mean, what's another one that you guys always play? It's the oh my god, Age of Empires. There's a ton of mods on that. Like
oh my god, yeah. To this day, they're still adding mods.
And guess what? To this day, they still have people playing Age of Empires 2, which came out when we were in high school.
Ooh, not even, dude. We were in freaking, I want to say like 2nd grade, 3rd grade,
bro. That's
I distinctively remember someone playing Diablo 2 back when I was in 4th grade. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. Now you know what going back to Battlefield a little bit here. Just kind of like mention Battlefield 2042 before we kind of finish off here. We go back to it because it's a really good example of a game that was going to be epic. The marketing was awesome, and you get it, and you're just no, it was almost not as epic as we thought. Battlefield 2040, the Battlefield series, one of the key things about it, any gamer would know, is that you have destructible environments. You should be able to destroy the buildings and they fall apart, shoot the walls fall over. Like you can just demolish an entire area because like the tanks just plow everything. Battlefield 2042 has like no destructible environments. This is literally a part of what makes the game, and it doesn't even have it anymore, right? Maybe because the engine was they couldn't handle it with the graphics that they were doing. I don't care, because now we have a game called BattleBit Remastered, which is going through multiple play testings, stress testing all the freaking time. BattleBit Remastered is literally a clone of the Battlefield games with a destructible environment with like Minecraft-esque graphics, right? Not Minecraft, right? But just kind of like Roblox or whatever esque graphics, right? But the thing about it is that the shooting like is fun. You have a lot of vehicles and things that you can use, and they have destructible environments, and they have the entirety of like team, squads, like commanding officers or whatever, and like list of things that you can do. It's an entire army based Battlefield type game. That actually sounds so much more fun to me than the Battlefield game.
Yeah.
Right, dude?
Yeah.
So it's almost like the developers should sorry, not the developers, the companies that own these titles should almost like see this is what happens when like if we just kind of like we take this IP and we try to do everything we can and we screw it up. Expect to see a clone to fix our mistakes, right? That's what every company who owns a game like Battlefield should understand. Expect to see somebody fix our mistakes. aka Call of Duty. Also, like Call of Duty literally fixed some of
Wow.
Battlefield's mistakes, right? Which is like
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah.
That's so ridiculous that they did that. But my hats off to Call of Duty for doing it, right? So it's almost like what if Battlefield, had allowed the community to like start modding that game and allow the community to like fix it up for them. I just wonder.
I think doing some research on why a game failed can really give you some insight onto the development cycle of these games. The best channel that I could recommend is Matt McMuscles, or type in YouTube "What happened" and then type in a game like Anthem. What happened?
Mm-hmm.
Anthem. What happened? Cyberpunk. The guy basically goes through the development cycle of some of these games and why they failed, and it's fascinating to
Mm-hmm.
see how 9 times out of 10 it's because like the parent company, like someone like EA, will put this pressure on Dice or these other companies or BioWare,
BioWare.
and like
R.I.P.
and you start seeing like, oh, like why some of these games suck. Actually, look for What Happened, Mass Effect Andromeda. It's it is incredible that they even were able to release that game.
You're right.
No joke.
I
And
think I remember seeing that one. You're right, bro. It is actually
so,
incredible that they actually it's actually incredible that they released Anthem with the people that they were losing at the time at BioWare.
I know, and it's. I think the more educated we become, the more we'll understand. Like, I'll still be mad at the fact that a game didn't come out like optimized, but we gotta. You can still empathize a little bit, Like, I
Mm-hmm.
really did feel bad for the Dice developers because I was only imagining the crap they had to go through.
Mm-hmm.
So that I guess what I'm saying is like, yes, you can be mad, but like they don't deserve your hate, you know.
Not
Like,
the
be
devs. Not
mad
the
at
devs.
yeah, no, it's like if the devs release the complete game and then the game is boring, then you
Yeah.
can blame the
Yeah.
devs because they
Yeah.
failed. Clearly, they failed. They released the game, it works, but it's f***ing boring. Like we do with Nintendo from time to time. It's like, great, you released this game, it works, but it's boring.
Yeah. You get exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, like at the end of the day, the more we get to know about these development cycles, the better for us, and hopefully that will allow us to empathize and be more patient with people that make games, because it's not easy to make a game, man. Seriously, it's not easy.
No, it definitely isn't easy. Oh, with if you've heard of the crunch, that then you know that making games is definitely not an easy thing. I guess if there's anything that I would say to the devs, if they were listening to this podcast, if I can get to the devs, I'll definitely want to talk to y'all. but I definitely respect what you guys do. I respect what developers do, what game developers do, because it is not easy a lot of times to come up with something like epic that's going to blow everybody's socks off, right? Whatever. To work for these
Mm-hmm.
companies, it is definitely a stressful thing to do. So I definitely respect people to that. I
Mm-hmm.
respect them for that. And if I could talk to the corporate
Mm-hmm.
people who run these development companies and to the investors, it would be better to take some losses sometimes in order to make sure that what comes out is fire, instead of just saying, okay, let's make a little bit of money here, let's just make some of the money back and then be done with it. Just it would be better in my opinion. But that's just my humble opinion. I know you guys don't want to lose any money. It's obviously I don't want to lose any money, but at the same time, I currently work on art and I have a hard time releasing it until I know it's, no.
Mm-hmm. Damn right.
Thank you everybody for listening to this episode of RMB Revive Me Bro Games. We definitely can go into more details into like all the specific games. But after this podcast, I think would be something really interesting would be to go back into Cyberpunk and to stream that again and see how it is. I was literally thinking right before we started this podcast, man, I'm gonna want to play Cyberpunk after we get done recording this, and I'm probably gonna want to restart the game from the beginning just to see how it is from the beginning again. Because I remember that one time you sat down with that one dude to eat, and you looked down at the food, and it was like Nintendo 64 graphics with the food. Not even, bro. It was like Game Boy graphics, bro. It was like, what is this trash?
I know, man. I know.
Yeah. But thank you everybody. make sure to follow, subscribe on all the platforms. We'll definitely be streaming as often as we can. There's a lot of games that we obviously would love to stream and want to stream. Definitely some games on the horizon that are coming up. May 12th, I'm looking at you, and if you know, you know. Like I said, follow, subscribe. We are very, very close to our first giveaway off of Twitch. We were at 90 followers on Twitch. So 10 more people, 10 more followers. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your pets. Have them follow. And as soon as we hit that, we hit the 100 followers on Twitch, we will be doing a pretty sweet giveaway. It won't just be one prize, it'll be a few prizes, but we'll announce that once we we're there.
Yeah.
Silly Squirrel?
And just keeping the lookout for of course more podcasts. We'll be releasing some more sooner rather than later. So again, thank you for your patience, guys. We do have a lot of plans in regards to what we want to stream and what we want to like talk next time and the people that we are going to have on. So again, thank you for your patience, and we'll be seeing you guys real soon.
We'll see you guys soon. Peace out, everybody. Master Rein out.
What's up? Bye-bye. Why did I say what's up? I meant to say bye-bye. What's up?
Aloha.
Aloha.
Just say aloha.
Aloha. Mahalo.